All right. Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to say call Haloyim Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai Bahashim Rakah Quitash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who taught me this truth and who rule well in this truth. Shalom to the 144,000 and the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel that is scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Peace and mercy unto you, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. You are the true Hebrew Israelites that the Bible speaks of. You are the true chosen people of the book. All right, so I'm on Elder Manatazak's page. All right. And he has a video of this man, all right, this foolish, vile, and unlearned man, all right, talking about that Esau, all right, is not the so-called Caucasians, man, all right, which indeed Esau, Edom is the so-called Caucasians, all right. The Caucasian race, the so-called white men, are the Edomites today, man, all right. The so-called white race are the Edomites that the Bible speaks of. All right, this is facts, man. All right, so I'm gonna play this video. All right, now I didn't watch the whole video, but I'm gonna play it, the beginning of it. All right, because he lets his video play and then he rebukes him. All right, he rebukes him the whole video. All right, but I want to give my 2 cents on it. All right, and I'll let the video play and then we'll get into the scriptures. All right.
All right, listen to me closely. Listen to me very closely, because some people don't know how to follow instructions. I say that because somebody will watch this video and they'll still comment out of pocket. If you don't believe Esau is a white man, then I'm not asking for your comment. I'm asking for all those people that believe that nonsense, that Esau is a white man, right? So, I said that for them. So if you don't believe Esau is a white man, then don't make a comment. This is for those people that believe that, right? If you don't believe, or you know that Esau is not the white man, the only comment I want to see from you is agreeing or concurring what I'm saying. Now that I got that clear, let's go here. So let's try to make some sense out of this thing, because I'm doing a series right now on Esau, proving that Esau is not the white man from every angle, right? So I always get the derivatives of one West camp, whether it be IUIC, whether it be GMS, or whether it be Sakari, or any of those camps that come, especially it's the young brother. The elders don't really deal with it because the elders know this. The elders know that that's not true. It's not true. So if you started something as a doctrine of truth, then you stick with it for the most part. But you know it's not true. Now back to the story at hand. These brothers that constantly come to my videos when I'm on the lesson, and they don't even listen to the information, the arguments that I push forward, right? They want to make Esau the white man. Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a dumb question, as I always say, right? Could you name one source that you cite, out of all the references that you cite, that Esau is the white man, or as you all say, the so-called white man, right? Can you cite one of the sources where they acknowledge that the Caucasians are Esau? Because every source that makes a so-called white person Esau is not a reference to all Caucasians. There's sources, and you go to the Jewish Encyclopedia, you can go to all of the books that people quote. They're quoting the Jewish Talmudists. And Jewish Talmudists say that Rome is Esau. Okay. Every Caucasian didn't come through Rome. So that basically shows you that you haven't done your homework. Every white person didn't come from Rome. Okay? If you know anything about history, you know that there are people called the Germans. And then the interesting thing about it is that has so many holes in that doctrine is that because the same people that say Esau is the Caucasian or the so-called white man, they connect him to the Khazars. Do you know where the Khazars came from? Okay, the Khazars didn't come from Rome. Okay, so I challenge those of you that believe that teach that foolish, idiocentric doctrine to point to me one source that says Esau is a Caucasian, not Rome. Okay? The source that says that Esau is the Caucasian, you can't find it because there's no source that tells you that Esau is the Caucasian. Okay? And the origin, as I said, if you Google it, the origin of Esau being Rome started with Jewish Talmudists because of the persecution that Rome brought upon Israel in 70 AD. Now Google that and get back.
Shalom.
All right, now you hear the voice of Edom, all right, from the GMS South Carolina camp. He about to go in and do his rebuking, man. All right, and I want to get my 2 cents, but before, let me rewind it back a little bit.
Google it. That says, okay. So I challenge those of you that believe that teach that foolish, idiocentric doctrine to point to me one source that says Esau is a Caucasian, not Rome. Okay? The source that says that Esau is the Caucasian, you can't find it because there's no source that tells you that Esau is the Caucasian.
Alright, so you hear what he said? He said, point to one source that tells me that Esau, alright, is the so-called white man, or that Esau is the so-called Caucasian man. Alright? He said, point to one source. He said, you can't because you can't find it. Oh, yeah? Well, we got a book right here called Who is Esau Edom? Alright? Who is Esau Edom? Alright? See, those who have wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the Bible, alright, we know who Esau Edom is. Alright? Because of the characteristics that the Bible describes that Esau Edom would have. Right? But those for the ones that can't get it, you have this book right here that is called Who is Esau Edom? Alright? This fool right here, this man you see on screen, alright? He said, point to me one source that tells me, alright, that Esau Edom is the so-called white man. Alright? That Esau Edom is the so-called Caucasian. Well, we're going to prove it because Esau Edom in this book tells you that he is Esau Edom. Alright? So let's get into it, man. All right, let's get it. All right, the scriptures say that that their own tongue shall fall upon themselves, right? So let's get it. An Edomite wrote this book, and this is what the Edomite put in this book, man. All right, life and history of Esau. All right, Esau was the firstborn of Isaac, and thus was heir to the birthright derived from the direct lineage of Adam to Noah to Abraham. Thus Esau was racially an Adamite, a Semite, and a Hebrew, the racial stock of the white race. So Esau Edom himself is telling you that they're the Edomites. All right, that they're that the white race is Esau Edom. All right, that they're the Edomites, man. He said, point to me one source. Well, I'm giving you a source right here. Esau Edom telling you that he's Esau Edom. All right. The racial stock of the white race. Let's read that again. Esau was the firstborn of Isaac, and thus was heir to the birthright derived from the direct racial lineage of Adam to Noah to Abraham. Thus Esau was racially an Adamite, a Semite, and a Hebrew, the racial stock of the white race. All right, see, this man right here, he's unlearned, man. He's unlearned, man. All right, he doesn't know. He has absolutely zero idea what he's talking about, man. And like I said before, all right, those who have great understanding, wisdom, and knowledge of the scriptures, all right, of the holy scriptures, the Bible, all right, we know who Esau, Edom is, all right, just from studying, just from the characteristics the Bible said that Esau, Edom would have, right? But those, like I said, for those who can't get it, you got this book who tells us who Esau, Edom straight up is. The name of the book is called "Who is Esau, Edom?" And inside that book, it tells us who Esau, Edom is, man. All right, like it says right here, the racial stock of the white race. All right. So let's go to another page real quick. Let me flip over. All right. It says right here. Let's zoom in real quick. All right. It says, however, identification of these persons or tribes can also be ascertained, all right, by the characteristics, prophecies, all right, etc. revealed about them in the Bible. Yeah, because what is the prophecy? That Esau, Edom, all right, before the Lord returns, that Esau, Edom, all right, will be ruling in these last days. All right, that Esau, Edom will have complete control of this whole planet Earth. All right, and who is that? This so-called white man. Come on, man. It doesn't get any more simpler than that. All right. So when you go to this page right here, it says the characteristics, all right, of Esau, Edom, right here. All right, page 3. All right, or chapter 3. Let me zoom in real quick. All right, it says the characteristics of Esau, Edom. All right, it says, as with any script, the Bible reveals certain traits, attributes, and characteristics of various actors or characters it talks about. We can thus find in the Bible some attributes and characteristics of Esau, Edom, which will help identify who this actor was in history and perhaps in the world today, showing you that Esau, Edom is still around. The Edomites are still around. All right, it's prophecy that the Edomites will be in rulership before the Lord returns. For Esau is the end of the world, meaning the end of an age, meaning at the end of this current age before the Lord returns. All right, the age of before the Lord returns, that Esau is going to be ruling. He's the end of the world. All right, that's second Ezra, the 6th chapter. All right, it says, we can thus find in the Bible some attributes and characteristics of Esau, Edom, which will help identify who this actor was in history or perhaps in the world today. There is much evidence showing that the seed of Esau may safely be identified as modern Jewry. Come on, man. Come on, bro. All right, showing you that the people in the land of Israel today, they're not the real Jews, man. All right, they're Edomites. All right, it says there is much evidence showing that the seed of Esau may safely be identified with modern Jewry. Yeah, there's so much evidence that you can safely say that the people over there in the land today are Edomites. They descend from Esau. So you out here talking about that Esau, Edom's not the so-called white man, not the so-called Caucasian man. You unlearned, man. All right, you haven't studied enough. All right. Come on, man. You haven't studied enough, man. All right, then it says Edom, then it goes in the Esau's name, Edom's name, and where it comes from and all that, man. All right. But like it says as with any script, the Bible reveals certain traits and attributes and characteristics of the various actors or characters it talks about. All right, so let's get into the Esau, Edom. All right, but let's go back over here. All right, let's read this again. All right, it says the legacy of Esau, Edom. Esau was the firstborn of Isaac, and thus was heir to the birthright derived from the direct racial lineage of Adam to Noah to Abraham. Thus Esau was racially an Adamite, a Semite, and a Hebrew, the racial stock of the white race. All right, so the Edomites today is the so-called white race. right? The Edomites today are the so-called white race, the so-called Caucasian man. All right? And what do the scriptures say? For Jacob have I loved, and Esau have I hated. All right? So the Lord hates Esau. All right? Esau, Edom, man. All right? Because you people just want to love Esau, man. You just want to love Esau, man. How you gonna love Esau when the Lord hates him, man? You know? Y'all just want to love the hell out of Esau. Even though that he's the devil, you still want to love him. Like an idiot, like a fool, man. All right? So now let's get into the characteristics of Esau, all right? It says, this is Obadiah, the book of Obadiah, the first chapter, all right, the first verse. It says, the vision of Obadiah. Thus saith the Lord God concerning Edom, all right? So whatever is about to be spoken is about to be spoken of Edom, all right? All this concerns Edom, the entire, because the book of Obadiah is only one chapter, all right? Which this whole chapter, this whole chapter concerns Edom, as we're reading right here. The vision of Obadiah. Thus saith the Lord God concerning Edom. So everything we're about to read concerns Edom. All right, Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. We already established that he's the so-called white man, that the Edomites is the so-called white race. All right, it says, we have heard a rumor of the Lord, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised, yea, out of all the nations. All right, Esau, Edom is the lowest. All right, the Lord made him, Esau, Edom, the lowest nation. The Edomites, the lowest nation. All right, thou art greatly despised. Yeah, because everybody hates the so-called white man. All these nations hate the so-called white man, man. All right, it says, the pride of thy heart has deceived thee. All right, the pride of thy heart has deceived thee. Who are the proudest people on this earth? The Edomites, the so-called white race. All right, they're proud as hell, man. All right, especially when it comes to this country you call America. They think that nothing is never going to happen to this place. You know, they walk around with their chest out, you know, their head on high. All right, so-called white people. All right, it says, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rocks. All right, Esau, Edom. They're the ones that dwelt in the clefts of the rocks. That's why white people, or so-called white people, are known as Caucasians. All right, because the word Caucasian means cave dweller. All right, because in the ancient times, they dwelt in the caves of the Caucasus Mountains. All right, they dwelt inside the caves of the Caucasus Mountains. All right, that's why so-called white people are known as Caucasians. All right, because they dwelt in the caves of the Caucasus Mountains. The word Caucasian means cave dweller. All right, so it's the Bible's telling us that the Edomites, which is the so-called white race, they dwelt in the clefts of the rocks. All right, then it says whose habitation is high. All right, because that's why they build skyscrapers. All right, because their habitation is high. They build high. All right, that's why here in America, in the cities, you have large skyscrapers. All right, buildings that go very high into the sky, man. All right, and says, let's read that again. It says, the pride of thy heart has deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rocks, whose habitation is high. All right, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Yeah, because Esau, Edom thinks, you know, that he's never going to come down from the rulership of this planet Earth. All right, because starting with the elite banking families, all right, the Illuminati, elite, wicked, vile banking families, all right, they're the ones that rule the entire planet Earth, starting with them. All right, and they really think that they're going to rule this planet Earth forever. All right, that's why they say in their heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? That's that pride that they have, that they're never going to be brought down from the rulership of this planet Earth. All right, you understand? Let's keep reading. Though thou exalt thyself as an eagle. All right, that's another clue to let you know who Esau, Edom is. All right, he exalts himself like what animal? It says right here, the eagle. All right, since the beginning of time, all right, the so-called white man's symbol has been the eagle. What's the national animal here in America? The eagle. All right, what's on the back of the coin? The quarter, the eagle. What's on the back of the dollar bill? The eagle. All right. The Romans were Edomites. What was on the back of their coin? The eagle. The Greeks were Edomites. What was on the back of their coin? The eagle. All right. So Obadiah 1:4 says, "Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle," all right, and though thou set thy nest amongst the stars. Yeah, they have set their necks amongst the stars again. All right, they got them skyscrapers, and then they got the ISS, the International Space Station. They have set their nest amongst the stars. All right, but the scriptures say, "Thence will I bring thee down," saith the Lord. Yeah, the Lord is going to bring Esau, Edom, down from the rulership of this planet Earth. The so-called white man's not going to rule this planet Earth forever, man. All right. So these are all characteristics. All right. The Lord is giving you clues to who this man is. All right. Exalt thyself for the eagle. All right. Whose habitation is on high. All right. Though that dwelleth in the clefts of the rocks. All right. The pride of his heart. All right. Who are the proudest people on earth? Esau, Edom, the Edomites, the so-called white race. All right. So when you go to Job the 30th chapter, all right, it says Job 30:1, it says, "But now, all right, they that are younger than I have me in derision," talking about the Edomites, all right, younger meaning less significant. All right, it says, "But now they that are younger than I have me in derision, whose fathers I would have disdained to have set with the dogs of my flock." Yeah, all right, because Edomites, all right, being the vile, all right, and the vile and profane people that they are, all right, they're into bestiality, man. All right. So Job said, I would have disdained to have set with the dogs of my flock, man. He wouldn't even want to have them around his dogs, man. All right. It says, "Yea, all right, whereto might the strength of their hands profit me, in whom old age was perished. For want and famine they were solitary, fleeing into the wilderness in former time, desolate and waste." Yeah, because during the time of the dark ages, all right, the Israelites were pushed forth from among men. All right, they flee into the wilderness, the caves, and all of that. They were nowhere near civilization. They were nowhere near rulership. All right, it says, "For want and famine they were solitary, fleeing into the wilderness in former time, desolate and waste, who cut up mallows by the bushes and juniper roots for their meat." Yeah, that's what they ate. Juniper roots. While they were living in the caves, they were eating juniper roots, man. Esau, Edom. All right, they were driven forth from among men. Yeah, they were driven forth from civilization. They were pushed into the caves, into the Caucasus Mountains. All right, they were driven forth from among men. They cried after them as after a thief. All right, to dwell in the cliffs, in the valleys, in the caves of the earth, and in the rocks. You see, that lines up with Obadiah, which concerns Edom. That whole chapter concerns Edom. All right, saying that they have dwelt in the clefts of the rocks. Same here. All right, Job 30:6, "To dwell in the cliffs of the valleys, in the caves of the earth, and in the rocks." All right, because at one time they dwelt in the caves of the rocks. That's why so-called white people are known as Caucasians, because the word Caucasian means cave dweller. All right, they came out of the Caucasus Mountains. That's why they're known as Caucasians. All right, among the bushes they brayed, under the nettles they were gathered together. They were children of fools, yea, children of base men. They were viler than the earth. Yeah, no one's more vile, all right, than the so-called white man. The Bible said that they were children of fools. All right, children of fools. Like you got that saying, "Oh, that's that white people shit." Right? That's that white people stuff. All right? Yeah, because so-called white people are usually doing foolish things, man. All right, they were children of fools, yea, children of base men. All right, the so-called white man, he's a base man. They were viler than the earth. No one's more vile and profane, all right, as Esau, man, like the scriptures say. For one morsel of meat, he sold his birthright, All right, So these are just some characteristics, man. All right, them dwelling in the cliffs of the rocks. All right, living in the caves, in the cliffs of the valleys, like it says right here, and in the rocks. All right, when you go back into Obadiah, it says, their pride of thy heart has deceived thee. Who's the proudest man on earth? All right, whose habitation is on high. They build these skyscrapers. All right, they like to set their habitation on high. All right, the Caucasus Mountains. All right. All right, who saith in his heart, who shall bring me down? All right, then it says, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle. All right, they exalt themselves as the eagle, man. All right, the national animal is what? The eagle. Again, on the back of the quarter is the eagle. On the back of the dollar bill is the eagle. All right, and though thou set thy nest amongst the stars, all right, they have set their nest amongst the stars, the ISS, the International Space Station. All right, their nest is amongst the stars. All right, and in the satellites and all of that. All right, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord. That's right. Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, he not going to rule this planet Earth forever. All right, even though it felt like he has been. All right. The Lord said, thence will I bring thee down. The Lord is getting ready to raise up the so-called Negro, Latino, Native American man to be kings and gods of this ruler, of this planet Earth once again, man. You know? All right, so just, going into that, because this foolish man said, show me one, he said, show me one document and source that lets me know that Esau is the so-called white man. Well, I brought it out. There's a book called Who is Esau Edom that lets us know that Esau is the so-called white man, that he's the white race, that the Edomites is the so-called white man, bro. Come on, man. All right, so, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. All right, Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Ratazah, this lesson was edifying. All right, I want to say double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth and who rule well in this truth. Shalom to the 144,000 and the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel that is scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Peace and mercy unto you, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. You are the true Hebrew Israelites that the Bible speaks of. You are the true chosen people of the book. All right, so with that being said, until the next one, Shalom.